So continuing with halachas and mezuzos, so today we'll be discussing what kind of ownership requires a mezuzah and at what point. So the halacha is if anybody moves into their own home, which they own, they are obligated to put a mezuzah right away. As we mentioned before, it's a constant obligation, and therefore as soon as one moves into their own home, they should put a mezuzah right away. However, when it comes to renting or borrowing a house, so then there's going to be a difference between Eretz Yisrael and in chutz. In chutz and outside of Eretz Yisrael, the diaspora, so the halacha is until 30 days one is not obligated to mezuzah. Only after 30 days does one become obligated to mezuzah. Why is this so? What's the difference? So the answer is, well, according to Rashi, that we're concerned that within 30 days a person might change his mind. He might not like the house. He might want to change his mind and move out, and therefore he does not become obligated right away. And only after 30 days does he become obligated. Tosfos says a different idea, and that is we find in halacha with regard to at what point does a person become obligated to pay the taxes of the city, the kupa, to donate to the tzedakah fund, that a person only becomes shiur, a member of the city, after 30 days, and therefore he only becomes obligated after 30 days. So therefore, in chutz, a person is not obligated to put on right away, but there's going to be a caveat that we're going to see that might obviate what we just said. Let's discuss it right now. And that is, according to what we said, that it's because of Rashi, that a person might change his mind. So what's going to be, let's say a person enters into a contract where he can't back out, right? Most people sign longer than 1 month at a time. And therefore, if he signs a 6-month contract, so there's no concern, he might retract. He can't. He's not legally binding. He technically could, but he's going to be on the hook for another 5 months rent and wants to do that. And therefore, there's no such concern. However, according to the other reason which we gave, which is according to Tosfos, that it takes 30 days to become established and settle in the city, that wouldn't make a difference. And therefore, the halacha is if one signs a long-term contract outside of Eretz Yisrael, in chutz, then a person should put on a mezuzah right away without a bracha, right? Because again, it could be that he's not obligated according to Tosfos. And on the 30th day, what should he do? He should take it off, and then he should put it on with the bracha, because then he's obligated according to all opinions. Just one point, why is it that in Eretz Yisrael a person is obligated right away? So for somebody who rents, and the answer is because in Eretz Yisrael there's an inherent established to do it. All Jews belong in Eretz Yisrael. So Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. So therefore there's less concern. We're not as concerned that he might change his mind and want to move. Okay. A hotel or an inn. The same halacha applies in that. In a hotel and inn, even in Eretz Yisrael, right? Even in Eretz Yisrael, one is not obligated unless he happens to stay there for long 30 days, because a hotel and inn are obviously they're not meant for long-term sleeping. So even if one goes to a hotel in Eretz Yisrael and there's no mezuzah, most places have mezuzahs, but even if there aren't, he's not obligated unless he happens to be staying there for longer than 30 days. Okay, so there's a discussion. What about in a hospital? Or hopefully it's not relevant to anybody here. Shouldn't be relevant to anybody here, but a jail. It's the same discussion. Does one put on a mezuzah in a hospital or a jail? So there's actually a machlokas. There's an argument, and the argument against is because hopefully these things are hopefully shouldn't come to it at all. But even if it is, they are temporary, right? Person doesn't plan on staying there for a long time, and therefore that's why there's a discussion. If one could, if Chas v'shalom one finds him in jail, they should. I don't know if they always allow it, but they try to put it on, but without a bracha. Okay.
Rabbi, if you're not obligated to do it, are you allowed to do it?
Oh, so that's a great question. We were just discussing this. If somebody is not obligated to do something, are they allowed to do it? So it really depends. So in this case, it's a little different, right? There's an age-old question. If somebody's completely exempt from a mitzvah and he decides to do it, so he's either a chassid, either he's a righteous person, or he's the Yerushalmi seems to say that he's a hedit, he's a simpleton, because the Torah says you don't have to do it. Then what are you doing it for? Right, so there's a fine line. When exactly do we say that he's a simpleton, and when do we say he's a righteous person? However, in this case, it's a little different because there is an opinion that says he's obligated. So because there's an opinion, so this doesn't really fall into that category. He's simply accommodating the opinion which says he's obligated to, right? Yeah. Okay, so there's a discussion about offices. Does an office building require a mezuzah? Now, strictly speaking, an office building also does not need a mezuzah. And why is that? Because it's not used at night, right? Hopefully a person doesn't sleep in their office. It's meant for daytime use, and therefore it's not obligated. And this is it's interesting to note. We pointed out before that a garage, right? A garage which you only use to store which you only use to store your drinks or whatever you're putting in your garage, that is obligated mezuzah. We said we shouldn't do without a bracha, but the Shulchan Aruch seems to indicate you would make a bracha. But a garage, you are obligated. But a store is different, or a business office is different, because that's not meant for, even if you use it, but it's not meant during nighttime hours. Whereas a garage, you go in and out all times, day and night. And therefore, an office and a business, strictly speaking, are not obligated. However, there are some who say that one should. Some people say that back then, when they were talking about businesses and offices, those were talking about very non-permanent structures, unlike our buildings. And therefore, again, there are some opinions who say that one should put a mezuzah on their office or their workplace or their store. But again, obviously, this would be without a bracha.